everyone, Chris the Old Ass Retro Gamer here. Today I'm going to do a review. It's of a game which I brought up in a previous video in my TurboGrafx-16/Turbo Duo video that I did about 2 months back. If you haven't seen the video before, I'll put the link below. If you don't want to go back and watch it, I'll just do a recap of what I'm talking about. There's a store not too far from where I live that specializes in retro video games called People Play Games. I knew that they have a very decent sized TurboGrafx-16/CD selection at the store, so when I first got my Turbo Duo, I went there about once a week for about 3 weeks in a row, looking for games to add to my collection. And on the third week, I was being chatted up by the clerk while he was ringing me up. He saw that I was buying Addams Family for the TurboGrafx-CD. He asked me if I wanted a free game, and he was offering me a Homebrew game that they had received a copy of by the people at Mindwreck, who are an independent game developer. They wanted People Play Games to carry copies to sell in their store. Turns out the people at the store weren't too fond of the game, didn't really want to carry it because there apparently isn't that big of a market for TurboGrafx-16 stuff. He said the people at the company were basically harassing them to carry the game in their store. They were calling them all the time, asking them when they're going to place a gigantic order to sell, and they just didn't want any of it. So they offered me the copy of the game that they had received just to get it out of the store because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. Who am I to turn down a free game? I was just getting into collecting for the system, so yeah, I want anything I can get my hands on. So I took it, brought it home, gave it a play. So the game in question is Hypernova Blast by Mindwreck and VOD Sound. It is a side-scrolling shooter that is extremely reminiscent, let's just say it, it's a flat-out clone of Defender. You control a spaceship that can move left or right. You're destroying other spaceships that are trying to attack the planet below. There are shielded cities, and the invaders are trying to attack the shield. There are 4 shielded cities. At the end of each round, your score gets tallied up by how much of that shield has been depleted by the end of that round. So every time a shield is hit, the points decrease by 100 until there are no shields left for each city, and then the city is exposed and everyone dies. You have 5 ships to choose from. They don't really differ in any way, just the way they look. Your ship also has a shield and an energy meter. The shield is depleted every time you take a hit, and then once the shield is gone, it starts to deplete your energy. And once that is gone, you are dead. You have 2 methods of attack. You have a laser beam that goes vertically, and then you can drop bombs that go horizontally. You can replenish your energy at these power lines that are right next to every one of the shielded cities. You can lower your ship right above it, hit the bomb button, you'll recharge your energy. This game is all about scoring points, just like in the old days in the arcades. This is also a 5-player cooperative game as long as you have the turbo tap. That's pretty much all there is to it. Just constantly destroy waves upon waves of enemies. To get to the next round, you tally your points, start all over. For the first few rounds, the enemy types differ, and then they start to repeat. So the game is a CD. It actually comes on a officially pressed CD, which is kind of awesome for a homebrew. Normally you get those ones that look like they were burned, you know, the blue ones or even the purple ones that were DVDs. It also comes with a pretty decent inlay that has very basic instructions in it. So, is the game any good? So as you can see, this is a very basic looking video game. It does have some CD quality music, but the graphics are extremely low res. I'm assuming that the makers of the game decided to go for an old retro style of game, which is why it is a clone of Defender. There's basically no substance to it. This is one of those games where you play it for about 15 minutes, you have your fill, and you're done with it. You set it down, you go off and you play something a little deeper. The graphics are nothing to write home about, and kind of ugly. They remind me of a cross between a 7800 game, and the way the screen scrolls reminds me of what I've seen of games that play on the MSX. It is super choppy, it disorients you when you're trying to chase down an enemy. The screen has to scroll, it stutters along, you lose track of the enemy, and then you end up running into it because the screen has to catch up. It is just, it's frustrating beyond belief. Another problem is this game comes on a CD. You would expect the sound to be top-notch. I have a number of TurboGrafx-CD games, and even if the gameplay is bad, the music at least sounds good. Here it just sounds like something somebody put together on a Casio keyboard with a couple of drum loops. And another problem is the graphics in this game are extremely basic, as you can tell. So it shouldn't take up too much space on the disc. Well, then why does the game every few rounds have to load for about a minute and a half just to load a track of music? I don't understand it. After I reached the 10th stage, I thought the disc was broken. The system made this skipping sound. I was about ready to turn the system off, and then the game started back up again on stage 11. It could be the old technology, it could just be bad programming. I don't know, but it was annoying as hell. So the controls are terrible. The ship is extremely loose. You think you're turning on a dime and you're really not. It's really frustrating to play because you don't feel like you have complete control over your ship. Each ship looks slightly different, but they control and play exactly the same. All the enemies constantly loop over and over again. I was kind of impressed at the start that each level had a different enemy type, but after the 10th stage, they just loop back over on themselves again and just start repeating. And to tell you the truth, I was done with this game about 10 minutes after playing it. I forced myself to play through a few more stages than I wanted to just to see if there was anything else to offer, like maybe a boss battle or anything like that. And no, it is just the same thing over and over again. This game is not something you would expect to find on a TurboGrafx-CD or a 16-bit system in general. It is way too basic for its own good. If they were trying to go retro, they failed completely because they made it like unplayably retro. It feels like a port of an old like Atari computer game. If you are a super fan of Defender and Defender 2 or Stargate, you'll probably find some enjoyment in this for maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, but otherwise, if you're looking for something a little bit deeper, there is nothing like that to be found here. It is flat out just not fun to play. Hypernova Blast is a piece of shit. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is garbage. It looks like crap. It sounds like crap. It plays like crap. Therefore, it is crap. You can debate with me all you want about the fact that it's a homebrew game, that they didn't have the budget the major game developers had. Well, you know what? I've seen and played plenty of homebrew games in my day. Even though those games usually didn't take full advantage of the system they were on, at least when I would play those games, it felt like the people that made it had an idea for the game. They had a plan. This is just a cheap knockoff to sucker retro gamers into buying it, thinking like, oh my god, there's a new game available for the TurboGrafx-CD. It has been so long, you know. And then you get it and you're like, damn, I just wasted, you know, 35, 40 bucks on this. Because if I had actually spent money on this, I would have been furious. It is just like somebody threw this together in an afternoon. They took the code for Defender, tweaked it a little bit, put some CD quality music on it, slapped it on a disc, and sent it out for people to buy. It is a waste of your time, and I do not recommend Hypernova Blast. Like I said, you can play it for about 10 minutes, but that's all you're ever going to want to play it for the rest of your life. Out of a score of 5, I give this a 1. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment below. Share the video with your friends on the Facebooks and the Twitters and anywhere else you can do that. And also give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see. That way I know I'm doing something right and you are enjoying yourself. So until next time, I am Chris, the old ass retro gamer, signing off.